right. Hey guys, it's Sarah Andreko, and I'm here with Dr. Davis, and we're talking a different topic today, talking about kitties in quarantine because it appears that our kitty friends are not faring quite as well as maybe our canine companions are, being locked up in the house 24/7 with people they're not usually with 24/7. So I wanted to ask Dr. Davis a couple of different questions. She is a veterinary medical doctor over at Carolina Pets Animal Hospital in Wesley Chapel, North Carolina, and she's here to talk to us a little bit about what some of these cats are experiencing, and more importantly, how we can help them through this stress that they're exhibiting, which is now obviously causing some problems for owners, from what I'm hearing. So, what are some of the things that you're seeing, and some of the complaints that you're receiving from owners as of right now about their kitties?
Yes, so we are definitely noticing a little bit of an uptick in some signs of quote unquote kitty cat stress at home. So, probably one of the most common signs or complaints that we're receiving from clients would be urinary issues in cats. So, we will receive some calls about kitties who may be urinating outside of the litter box, or having some overt difficulty urinating, meaning straining in the litter box, some bloody urine, or just urinating in inappropriate spots all over the house. And all of those signs can absolutely be related to stress in kitties.
Yeah, and is that typically one of the first signs that you see of stress, is something urinary related?
I would say it's definitely the most common. There are other physical manifestations of stress that we may see in kitties. So those can range from over grooming to hiding in different spots throughout the house, vocalization, sometimes aggression amongst other pets in the house. So those are also common signs we see too. But I would say the urinary issues is probably one of the more common myriad of symptoms that we see in cats.
So one of the more important things to look out for, and you mentioned too, aggression. Like what type of aggression are you seeing? So with different people in the household, specific people, with other pets as well.
Yes, I would say most commonly in different kitty cat dynamics. So, if we do have a situation in the household where two kitties may not necessarily get along to begin with, and now they're confined together all the time, especially with their owners being in the same household more often, they may feel like they don't have as many opportunities to escape. So, some of these cats will have a few more altercations and interactions with each other that tend to manifest in stress.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'd like to talk about some of the things that people can do at home to kind of mitigate the stress. So, whether they're seeing signs of stress now or not, what are some things that they can either prevent stress or help reduce stress for some of their cats during this time?
Absolutely. So, one of the best things to keep in mind as cat owners is really making sure that we provide our cats with adequate resources and opportunities to be able to exhibit normal cat behaviors. So, when we talk about resources, basic things like food and water. So, making sure they have appropriate access to their food dishes and water dishes, maybe setting up more food and water dishes throughout the house. Also, litter. So, making sure there's adequate litter boxes and opportunities for them to eliminate in the house. So, a really good rule of thumb is one litter box in the house per cat plus one is really kind of the gold standard for making sure these cats have available space to do their business. Um, Other things would be, making sure they have adequate opportunities for play and affection. So really using things like toys, laser pointers, I really enjoy with cats. I think that really keeps them engaged. Feather toys, anything that really looks like prey tends to be really popular with kitties, things that they can really kind of go after and, create some stimulation for them. And then, of course, setting up available space for them for vantage points, perching posts, and of course, scratching posts, things where they can really go ahead and mark their territory.
Great, perfect. So I have a question about toys. One, if you have any favorite toys that you would recommend for kitty owners. I know you mentioned laser pointers too. And then two, on laser pointers, one of the things that I've heard, just working in behavior, is that if you play with laser pointers with your kitties, that there should be some sort of kind of kill or win at the end of laser pointer play. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That way they feel like there's some end goal, to their stimulation and their activity. So I like treat rewards, absolutely. little bit of a temptation treat at the end, make them feel like they've done a job well done. And I also really like I said, anything that looks like prey. So I have really good success with little mouse toys or things with long feathers, something to really stimulate them and engage them to think, ooh, I'm going to catch this. This looks something that I would catch out in the wild.
Yeah, I think a lot of owners don't really realize how important it is for cats to be able to exhibit that natural hunting behavior that they have, and how that adds to kind of their overall happiness as part of their seeking behavior.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of these cats, they are adapted to an indoor lifestyle, but we have to remember that they are predators and they still have natural instincts that they need to fulfill even with an indoor lifestyle.
Perfect. For the litter boxes, do you have a recommendation of placements? I like the rule of thumb that you gave, one litter box per kitty plus one, but where do you think throughout the house are kind of some better places for people to position those so that the cats will enjoy that kind of privacy more?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, a quiet environment is best in a place that's a little bit more dark and secluded. So, I think a closet is a great space. Depending on your availability in your household, sometimes depending on your lifestyle or your setup, you may not have a lot of available space or quiet space for these kitty cats. So, somewhere that's probably less frequented throughout the day, even somewhere like a guest bathroom or a laundry room, somewhere you don't spend a lot of your time.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And what about routine? Obviously, kind of with everyone in quarantine, kitties are disrupted as far as their routine. Their normal everyday, habits have been disrupted here as well. And for dogs at home, that's not as much of a problem than it is with our concern about people going back to work and that abrupt changes that's going to bring. But is there anything about routine in particular that you can offer to kitty owners that might help their cats in the long run?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, cats, unfortunately, are not the best adapters to change. So, any sort of disruption in your daily routine or environment can create in a cat's mind a quote unquote stressful event. So, really trying to stick to a routine, throughout the day, especially during this quarantine time, is really going to be beneficial for your cat, and avoiding certain abrupt changes throughout the household. So, some examples of quote unquote stressful events for kitties would be, something like if you have construction going on in the household, if you're doing a lot of feng shui, if you have a lot of visitors kind of coming and going, all those things sometimes can be a little upsetting for cats. A lot of that stuff is probably on hold now, with most of us being on shelter in place. But really, the most consistent you are with your daily routine, the better.
Perfect. And the one thing I've noticed too, and I've been seeing posts all over social media, but adoptions are on the rise. So
Mhm.
applications are flowing into rescues left and right for dogs, cats, and other critters. And so, um, I always talk to dog owners about doing super slow introductions and let them get to know each other by scent and sound first. And, we do lots of walks and all sorts of other ways to slowly introduce them. However, this is a bit different of a situation. It's a little harder to give them additional space bringing a new pet into the household. So, any advice for people that are a part of that big group of people right now that think it's a really good idea to adopt since they're at home, and bringing a new family member in with their already current existing kitties?
Sure, absolutely. So we're all definitely encouraging adoptions, especially during this time. But certainly for our cats, depending on that specific feline personality, some may be more receptive to a new addition than to others. So I agree absolutely with you, Sarah. Best thing to do with both dogs and cats is to go slow. So I always recommend when we do bring, whether it be another cat or dog, into the household, keeping that new kitty cat friend in their carrier when you bring them into the household, and let the cat kind of come and sniff and kind of get an idea of what's going on. That way that kitty understands this is still his house, this is still his territory or her territory, and that way he understands he's still has reign over this particular territory. And then doing things to kind of introduce sense. So sometimes I'll have owners take a sock, put it on their hand, pet the new kitty and pet the current kitty, and then swap. Then have the new kitty sniff the other cat's scent and vice versa. And that way they kind of have an understanding, okay, we've got someone else who might be spending some time here, and they get familiar with that cat's scent and that cat's essentially that cat's going to be domaining here. Other things to do would be isolation in the beginning. So you can take one kitty, put them in a separate room, take the other kitty, put them in a separate room, and then slowly over time introduce. So I'll usually say sometimes, especially with really stressed or timid cats, take a few days, keep them separate, slowly open the door a little bit at a time, as the days pass, let them sniff, let them get a little better acquainted, and then kind of keep gradually giving them a little bit more free reign of that territory until eventually we have them introduced to each other.
Gotcha. So for introducing new animals, or even for kind of addressing any of the stressful situations that we've talked about with cats, do you recommend anything over the counter or at home, like some of the aromatherapy or any of the pheromones that people can purchase over the counter? Is there anything like that that you kind of think is a good idea or endorse for some of these situations?
Yeah, I definitely think it doesn't hurt to have any sort of assistance available. So certainly something like Feel Away, which you can purchase over the counter, PetSmart, Petco, what have you. That is a kitty cat pheromone that is supposed to promote calming in these new environments. So it comes in two different forms. It can come in a diffuser, which is essentially a plug-in, and then a spray where you can kind of spray locally in certain spots throughout the house. I like the diffuser personally. And I'll usually recommend we put a couple in certain areas throughout the home. So maybe one where the cats frequent the most, maybe one by the litter box. And that is supposed to help kind of create a nice zen environment for these cats who may just be a little bit more stressed or timid.
Just to note, it is not to spray on the cat. It's to spray
Correct.
on other
Absolutely.
items. Do not
Yes.
spray the kitty with Feel Away.
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, so the one thing that I want to point out too is there probably comes a point in time where if your cat has experienced a lot of stress, that you really need some professional help with the situation. So if it's getting out of hand, what are some of the signs for people to look for that their cat is overly stressed and might need some medical attention?
Sure. So that can range from anywhere from, appetite changes to if these cats are self-mutilating, meaning if they're grooming excessively and they're giving themselves sores and wounds on their body. And of course, the urinary signs that we talked about. So if these kitties are having any sort of overt distress, they're trying to urinate and they're having a very difficult time, especially a cat who's straining and unable to produce urine, that's considered a medical emergency. So that definitely warrants immediate medical attention with your veterinarian.
Good to know. Thank you. Any advice for when owners are going back? We talked a little bit about routine and such, but if people are going back, we don't know if they're going to go back staggered or unstaggered or how that might work. So we're looking at potentially another abrupt change for cats. Any advice for kind of that transition for them?
Yeah, and that's unfortunately going to be a difficult one for us as owners because we all have to go back to work at some point. We all need to resume our normal lives. But really, I think the best thing we can do is, like you said, it's probably going to be staggered, I would say, which will probably be beneficial for everyone. But as slow and calmly as we can for these kitty cats, and maybe even thinking about starting some Feel Away spray or diffusers beforehand, maybe the week before, try and allow them to calm down and relax and get them more acquainted with the change that's ahead. And just being there for them, making sure that they're receiving all the love and the attention that they've been getting, really interacting with them, keeping them stimulated, keeping them happy is going to be the best thing that we can do going forward.
Perfect. So providing that overall enrichment and just trying to keep things kind of as normal as possible for them during that transition period.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you'd like to add advice wise, or any other information that you want to include for kitty owners out there that are kind of navigating this brand new situation?
I know it is. It's a brand new world for all of us. And all I can say is try to enjoy it, try to enjoy the new bond that you're forming with your kitties. These cats are trying to adapt just as well as we can. And, it's a stressful time for everybody, but we'll get through it together. So just love on your kitties and enjoy having them just as much as they enjoy having you.
A little extra one-on-one time with them for sure. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. If anyone has any additional questions for Dr. Davis, you can reach her at Carolina Pets on Instagram. It's at Carolina Pets. They also have a Facebook page, which is Carolina Pets Animal Hospital. The website is carolinapetsanimalhospital.com. So feel free to send in any additional questions, or if you need clarification on any of the recommendations that Dr. Davis has given, feel free to submit those questions there. And I'm sure she'll be happy to get back with you on that. So
Absolutely.
thanks again. We appreciate
Thanks
the
so much,
time.
Sarah. Thank you
Take
for
care.
having me. Bye bye.